our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Genesis 1:26. Imagination is not just a whimsical escape. It's a divine gift, a tool for creation and innovation and self-improvement. So let us explore how this power is rooted in our very creation and how it can transform our lives and the world around us. Here are some scientific facts about imagination. Neuroplasticity. So our brains are actually shapeable and changeable with our thoughts. Imagining scenarios can actually rewire our pathways in our brain, strengthening areas associated with creativity and problem solving. Number 2 fact, mental rehearsal. Athletes and musicians use visualization techniques to improve performing, showing that imagined practice can lead to real-world skill enhancement. 3. Stress reducing. Imagine peaceful scenes, and this can lower your stress level. By engaging with this, you would actually calm your nervous system, which would promote relaxing and reduce cortisol levels. Empathy development. Through imagining, we can actually place ourselves in another person's shoes, enhancing our empathy and social connection as shown with MRI studies. 5. Innovating. Many groundbreaking inventions began as mere thoughts in someone's mind. Imagination is the precursor to innovation. It allows us to conceive solutions before they even, problems exist. Okay, memory enhancement. Engaging your imagination can help in encoding new information into your memory more effectively, making learning more vivid and memorable. 7. Pain management. Visualizing techniques are used in medicine to help manage pain, where patients imagine calming or distracting scenarios to cope with physical pain. Now, here is a few examples in real life that I thought was interesting. Albert Einstein had a famous thought experiment, like imagining riding alongside a beam of light, and that actually led to groundbreaking theories in physics. Einstein's imagination was key to his scientific revelation. You can just Google Albert Einstein and beam of light, and you'll read more about that. J.K. Rowling's, who wrote Harry Potter. Well, the story goes that the whole detailed magical world was created while sitting at a cafe. And then there's Steve Jobs, and I've read that his vision for technology was not just about hardware, it was about an imagining thing of how technology could touch people's lives. So his imagination led to products to change the world. So here's another Bible verse as well, Philippians 4:8. And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thought on what is true, honorable, and right, and pure, and lovely, and admirable. Think about these things that are excellent and are worthy of praise, Philippians 4:8. So we have to learn to embrace the power of our imagination and let it be the canvas on which we paint our dreams and architect our future, where we actually understand more of the spiritual realm. In a world where we could be anything, we have to learn to let our mind lead us to be the best version of ourselves, where we're actually filled with love and hope and endless possibility instead of fear. We have to learn how to use these divine gifts to not only improve ourselves, but to spread light and inspire others, because our imagination is our superpower. You don't see dogs with imagination. You don't see other animals with imagination. You don't see anything but humans with imagination. It is a superpower, so we have to learn how we can actually use it. So here's another Bible verse. Let's see. It says, now to him who is able to immeasurably do more than we ask or imagine according to his power that is at work within us. I think that could be imagination as well. Ephesians 3:20. There is so many scientific insights into creative visualizing. There's one, mental imagery and performance. Studies show that athletes visualizing their performance actually enhance their actual performance. Two, neural pathways. Visualizing activities actually activate the same pathways as if we were physically doing the action just by visualizing it. Three, emotional regulation. Creative visualizing can actually be used to manage emotions, helping individuals to feel more in control and less anxious by picturing calming or successful scenarios. And there's evidence suggesting that visualizing can support health by influencing the body's immune response through mental imagery of health and well-being. Five, goal achievement. Visualizing achieving goals can increase motivation and persistence toward those goals. There's study after study been done about that. Six, confidence building. Regularly visualizing oneself mastering a skill or overcoming a challenge can significantly boost self-confidence. Change in perception. Creative visualizing can actually alter how we perceive challenges and actually look for the lessons in them. Have you guys ever heard of Jim Carrey before his famous thing where he actually said he drove up onto the mountain, looked out over, and he wrote himself a $10 million check and actually signed it? He actually visualized that dream daily, and by 1994, he actually achieved it with the role he did in Dumb and Dumber. I heard him say that. That's so interesting. I've heard stories of the same, like from Oprah, from Arnold Schwarzenegger, from different ones. I don't know if they're true or not, but I do know that the facts are there. And I do know that imagination is something that we should learn how to use. It's not just wishful thinking, it's actually a dynamic process that aligns our mind, spirit, and actions towards our dreams. It ain't going to hurt anything. It's just hard to actually wrap your head around that visualizing something will matter. But as I've heard, you become what you hang out with. Is that because we actually see them do it? And so there's that mirroring neurology that I need to make a whole nother video about. But it's actually scientifically proven if we see somebody do something, then we believe we can. And there's been story after story of that. So imagination, how we imagine ourselves, is ultra important. It's locked in with our identity. It restricts us. It motivates us. It'll restrict us if our thoughts are small on it, if we're visualizing failure. And it'll advance us if we visualize success. So think of this. There are 7 lessons from the Bible on visualizing that I thought was super interesting. So let me open that and let's get to that. Okay, number 1 lesson from the Bible on visualizing. Abraham's vision of his descendants. God showed Abraham the stars in the sky, and it symbolized his future descendants, encouraging him to visualize an innumerable legacy. And you read about that in Genesis 15:5. And what about Joseph's dream? It's Genesis 37:5 through 11. And let me see if I can pull that up. Okay, it shows the sheaves and stars bowing to him were not just predictions, but visualizing of his future authority and family dynamics. And the third lesson from the Bible on visualizing, Moses and the Promised Land. Moses was given a vision of the land flowing with milk and honey, which he was to visualize and strive toward, even if he wouldn't enter it himself. Deuteronomy 34:1 through 4. Joshua's conquest of Jericho. Joshua was instructed to visualize the walls of Jericho. Whoops, that's upside down. That's funny. So was the first one. Let me see. I'm just telling you guys about this and not paying attention to this. It's kind of hard to read and show you these these art pieces. I get tickled at myself. Okay. So Joshua's conquest of Jericho. Joshua 6, 1 through 20, he's instructed to visualize the walls of Jericho falling down after a specific ritual, which they did enact in faith. So again, there's a story after story where if we learn to harness the power of our imagination and visualizing stuff, it's so important. Here's another one, 1 Kings 18, 41, 45. Elijah's prayer for rain. There was a severe drought, and Elijah visualized rain by sending his servant 7 times to look for a cloud. Now, that's persistent right there, which eventually, guess what, came in the form of a small cloud and at the end of a very long drought. We read about that in 1 Kings 18, 41, 45. Imagine. Elijah was using visualizing. I think we have been stunted to not understand how powerful visualizing is. The feeding of 5,000, Matthew 14, 13 through 21. Jesus visualized and blessed the small amount of food to feed thousands, demonstrating how visualizing coupled with faith could multiply resources. Peter walking on water, Matthew 14, 28, 31. Peter visualized himself walking on water toward Jesus, which was an act of faith that was sustained as long as he kept his eyes on Jesus. What about David and Goliath? 1 Samuel 17, 45 through 50. You can read about that. And it wasn't just his physical might, but through his faith in God, picturing the giant falling before him. He actually said what was going to happen first. He visualized it. Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel saw beyond the immediate danger. He visualized God's delivering him, which came to pass, protecting him from the lions. Daniel 6, 16, 23. Or the widow's oil, 2 Kings 4, 1 through 7. Elisha encouraged the widow to visualize her jars being filled with oil, leading to an abundance that saved her family from poverty. So faith, let's read that. Hebrews 11, 1. What is it? It's the confidence of what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. So interesting. All of these Bible verses do show that imagination and visualizing is so important. It can also be used in the negative way too. If we let, the constant news cycle, the ups and downs and highs and lows of politics, etc., mess with our visualizing, then we can actually operate it the opposite way in fear. So maybe that's why the Bible said, do not fear so much, because visualizing is so important, as we've read over 7 different times there in the Bible where visualizing was used. Then also we must realize that visualizing in fear can work the opposite way. So then it'll produce what we wish it didn't produce. So the Bible teaches us that visualizing powered by faith can move mountains, part seas, and multiply loaves. It's about seeing with the eyes of faith what God sees for us, since we're created in His image. His promises and actions working according to His will. Let these stories, I hope, inspire you to visualize your life with divine purpose, to see the challenges as opportunities for God's glory, and to imagine a future filled with His blessings. Your faith shapes your reality. And what you imagine, you act toward. And that shapes your reality, just as it did in the biblical figures that we read about above. So let the power of creative visualizing, rooted in Scripture, guide you to a life of hope and love. I hope this inspired you. If it did, pass it along, share it, leave a comment. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. See you in the next video.